The Assembly has to draft and vote on articles of impeachment, and the Senate is required by law to wait 30 days to give the governor time to prepare his defense once he is impeached. And so the waiting game is just something that New York State law requires us to go through. I will say one other thing, because a lot of people, including myself, have called for the governor to resign based on these awful allegations of sexual misconduct that these brave women have come forward to talk about. But the Assembly is also looking at a host of other allegations against the governor, including misrepresenting the nursing home deaths and the bridge, Mario Cuomo or Tappan Zee Bridge, not being safe and concealing that data from the public. So they have a whole bunch of other things they're looking at that people have not necessarily rendered a specific opinion about just yet. So there's still some work to do there.
But you're coming off a pandemic. There's public policies and issues that need to be addressed. What suffers while your focus is on this, while the governor is not resigning?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one of the big reasons why so many of us are calling for him to resign quickly rather than putting us through this for the next couple of months. Because there's a host of things that we've done that people are relying on that are not getting done because the executive branch of government is paralyzed right now. We allocated over $2 billion to help people pay their rent who had loss of income during the pandemic over the last year and a half. We are the last state in the country in getting that money out the door. We established a $2 billion fund to help people with unemployment who were left out of the federal program. It's called the Excluded Workers Fund. That money is not getting out the door. I passed the bill called the HERO Act, which requires businesses to put in place procedures to protect their employees and their customers from the spread of COVID. And all it requires to go into effect is the Department of Health to certify that we are in a pandemic that's presenting a great danger to public health. We can't even get that done at this point. That should be simple. We can all agree COVID-19 is an unprecedented danger to public health. We can't get the Department of Health to certify that's the case to put that law into effect. So we are absolutely stuck right now because the governor and his team can't seem to do anything other than worry about the problems and scandals that he's having.
Would you strike a deal with the governor? Would you encourage a deal with the governor? Because there's lots of talk that he is working behind the scenes with his people to work out something.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk of that yesterday. We're not aware of it. No one has approached us formally with any suggestion. I think that the rumor was that he would not run again if we all back off. First of all, it's the Assembly that decides on impeachment. The Senate just stands trial, so maybe he's talking to them, although the Speaker denied that yesterday also. But I think we're past all of that right now. The governor just needs to resign. We know pretty much how this is going to go at this point. There's enough people, as you pointed out, in the legislature who are on record about what needs to happen. We can drag this out for several months and continue to hurt the people of the state because the governor refuses to let go of power. Or he can resign more quickly so we can get back to the work that we have to do.
Senator Gianaris, can we expect you to run for governor at some point?
No, I don't think so.
Come on.
I've got a lot on my plate right now. We're trying to get through a very tumultuous time.
How about Attorney General?
Well, we'll see what the future holds, but for now, we've got some very important things to do over the next couple of months because the state is in a very precarious situation.
Seems like Attorney General might be more in the cards.
You're just trying to make trouble, Rosanna.
He can neither confirm nor deny.
I know. State Senator Michael Gianaris, thank you so much for coming on Good Day.
Thank you, guys.